I'm joined by Tara Brandner, owner of Simply You Wellness, to help us navigate the facts and myths of this disorder. Good morning to you, Tara.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks so much for joining me today and talking about such an important subject. I know PCOS, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, but can you tell us a little bit about what PCOS is and how common or uncommon it is for women to have?
Yeah, so 1 in 10 have it, and over 50% of women don't know they have it. So that's why we love Awareness Month, to bring awareness to this. But it's a disorder of insulin regulation, hormones, and cortisol levels, essentially. There's multiple pieces and things that go into this, and it can look so different on women, which is why it makes it maybe hard for providers to detect. There's been so many different diagnostic tools out there for this disease, and so it really looks different on everyone. But ultimately, it comes down to your cycles and regulation of that. Perhaps there's some facial hair growth or acne or some skin involvement, mood involvement, so mental health piece to it, sleep, insomnia, and it's just a full body disease too when you look at it from a whole.
Yeah, so is there a way that you can get diagnosed, or is there a way to know or not know that you have it? Because there are times when I get cranky and I don't sleep and I get acne, and so it's like, how do I know if I have it or if I don't?
Yes, and that's the hard part. There's no magical test that's like you have it or you don't have it. Now, lab work is done to rule out other causes of those symptoms, so perhaps thyroid. There's some levels we can draw that maybe they look like you have PCOS, and that's where it gets hard for some providers, where the level ranges are so big that they're like, oh, it's a thin level, but really, it's like, it's not. It's high and normal, and you look at the patient and have the symptoms. And then there's ultrasound, and that's the big debate. Do you need an ultrasound or not to diagnose it? And you do not need that. So I think a lot of providers rely on that ultrasound, or patients are saying, hey, I've had an ultrasound done and I don't have PCOS, meaning I don't have multiple cysts on my ovaries, and that doesn't mean you don't have it.
Sure, interesting. So what are the treatment, if you find out you do have it, what are your treatment options?
Yeah, so it's multi-level with that as well. Lifestyle, so we need to get you sleeping. I always say, if I can get you sleeping, yes, we can get you sleeping, get those cortisol levels regulated and balanced. Hormones like to follow. We need to look at hormone levels. Do you want prescription medication treatment route, or do you want some natural supplement route? Do you want both? Like, that's the great thing at Simply You. We do both, and we let the patient choose what route they want to go. And we need to look at nutrition and regulating that blood glucose level, and that helps all things as well.
Yeah, interesting. So now we're going to play a little game of truth or myth.
Truth or myth.
Yes. So fact or fiction. So the first one is PCOS will only affect overweight or obese women.
False. So very lean women, it's called lean PCOS, or really weight just doesn't matter. When you look at a female and you judge them on their weight for this disease, should not be happening. The body type doesn't matter. You'll have really lean women who can eat all they want when they want. They can't gain weight, and you'll have the next one doing CrossFit and eating so much protein, and they're doing everything so right, and they're not losing weight, and they have PCOS too.
Interesting. Wow. So, okay, so next one, losing weight will help or cure your issues. So the one that, is losing weight or working out, doing all the right things.
Yeah, we're gonna go false on that because it won't cure it. So we know PCOS is a lifelong disease, and that's the problem I see too. Maybe they were diagnosed hopefully as a young girl or at some point, treated, maybe had children, and then like they just fall off the radar and nothing else is happening again on the back end. If we don't continue to treat our insulin levels, our hormone levels, and our cortisol levels, it will turn into type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease. So it's a lifelong disease that we need to just be monitoring and watching. And how are you feeling? Adjusting those dials, as I always say.
Yes, interesting. Okay, so the next one, women with PCOS can get pregnant.
True. It is the leading cause of infertility, but we just need to get you ovulating again. And by adjusting the dials, we can get women ovulating. The flip side of that too is just because you've had 5 children doesn't mean you don't have PCOS. I'll hear that all the time too. So, well, I had kids, so that means I don't have PCOS, and that's not true. You still can have children. You can still have infertility. It's very confusing. We just have to do several things to get your cycle regular, help you track really close with those ovulation cycles for fertility, and adjust those levels and get you on your way to hopefully having a family.
Yeah, interesting. I shared this story with you before we came on camera, but one of my good friends was diagnosed with PCOS, and throughout our young lives, she was saying, if I have kids, I may have a hard time having kids. And she was kind of stressed out about it. So when she got married, and her and her husband were thinking about having kids, they kind of started looking at adoption right away. The day she found out that she was going to be able to adopt this little girl, it was the same day she found out she was pregnant.
Yep.
And so it's just, one of those things where...
One of those things. And I like to say, we need to stop saying that to patients. I hear it all the time too in my office. Like, I was told I couldn't have kids. And it's like, we need to work with your disease. This is a disease you have. And there's many things we can do before we jump into that scary infertility branch too. And I love to work with young high school women, onset of period, and really start working with teens on this so that we know it and we have a plan in place. So when the day comes that they want a family, if they want a family, we have a plan in place already.
Yeah. And I just think how much undue stress do women go through just thinking oh my gosh, I can't have kids, or or I might have a hard time, or there could be complications, and it just is unnecessary.
Absolutely unnecessary. That's a great way to put it.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, so last one. And we kind of gave this one away. If you were paying attention in the beginning, you're going to know this answer, but you need an ultrasound for diagnosis.
False. You do not need an ultrasound. So back in 1990, 2003, and 2006, something like that, there was 3 different criteria that came out for medical professionals to make this diagnosis. And they removed the must-have at some point, and it changed to and or. So you can use that most certainly as one. But what I have found in my practice, there's only certain times where that woman might have polycystic ovaries, specifically around ovulation time or when they're having pelvic pain. And it's really hard to capture that. And way too often, I will have women come into my office and say they had that, and they use that as a determinant if they have the disease, and they most certainly have PCOS, and it's been years that they've been dealing with not feeling well. So it is false. We do not need an ultrasound to make that diagnosis.
Yeah, and another thing that you said earlier that I want to go back to is that at your clinic, you give people choices as to how you can treat this. And so can you tell us a little bit more about those treatment options?
Yes. So I meet you where you're at. Oftentimes women are not feeling well. We're not sleeping. Our cortisol levels are high. Our hormones are imbalanced. We're not leveled. Who wants to go work out? And they've often been met with the statement, if you just lose weight, this will go away. And that's also not true. When I'm not feeling well without PCOS, the last thing I want to do is go exercise. And so it's really doing testing, maybe bringing some alternative testing we have available at our clinic, and then starting where they're at. What can we do today? Can we add more protein? Can we just get you eating it more often? Many times they'll come to me and they're not eating enough. They've cut carbs out because someone told them that. Someone told me that. I'm like, no. So we're doing daily adjustments. We're bringing in some alternative therapy. I use a lot of low-dose naltrexone in my practice, and it works so great to get sleep and cortisol levels balanced. And we're kind of looking at alternative things. Maybe they've been on prescription meds and it doesn't work. They want supplements. There's room for that. It works in our practice too.
Absolutely. So if anybody has questions about PCOS or anything else they might be going through, where can they find you, Tara?
You can find us on our website, simplyyouclinic.com, on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Send us a message. We'll reach back out to you. We have a little chat box on our website as well, or you can call us to make an appointment and talk more about this.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Tara, and thanks for all the wonderful information.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Well, stay with us. We have more North Dakota today.